Question number 1. In equipment replacement decisions, which one of the following does not affect the decision-making process? Current disposal price of the old equipment, that's a relevant cash inflow, it is considered. Cost of the new equipment, that is the relevant outflow, it's inflow, relevant outflow, it is considered. Of course, it will affect the decision-making process. Operating cost of the new equipment, yes, this is the relevant cash outflow, it will affect the decision-making process. What will not affect is the original fair value of the old equipment. It's gone, it's sunk cost, finished, and that's your right answer. If the net present value of a capital budgeting project is positive, it would indicate what? When NPV is positive, remember, that would mean the present value of your inflows is greater than the present value of outflows or the initial investment. Or put it the other way, we can say that the internal rate of return of this project is greater than the discount rate used in the project, right? IRR is greater than the discount rate, or the present value of inflows is greater than the present value of outflow. These are the two conclusions we can draw. Now, let's see what the question says. The present value of the outflows exceeds the present value of the cash inflows, totally opposite to what we have just discussed. Incorrect. Internal rate of return is equal to the discount percentage rate used in the net present value computation. This is wrong as well. IRR is greater than discount rate if the NPV is positive. Incorrect. Present value index would be less than 100%. If your present value of inflows is greater than the present value of outflows or in the initial investment, in that case the result is greater than 0. NP is positive, so index would have a number higher than 100%. Incorrect. Then what? The rate of return for this project is greater than the discount rate used in the net present value calculations, or in other words, the rate generated by this project, which is called IRR, is greater than the discount rate, and that's exactly what we discussed right here, and that's what makes D to be the correct option. What is the formula for calculating the profitability index of a project? Well, we just discussed that in our overview lecture. It is the present value of inflows divided by the initial investment, or just the present value of outflows, right? That's what we do. So subtract the actual after-tax net income from the minimum required rate of return in dollars. That is the residual income. This is incorrect. Divide the present value of annual after-tax cash inflows, this one, by the original cash invested in the project, this one, or the present value for. That's absolutely the right answer. Why not C? Divide the initial investment for the project by the net annual cash inflow, totally opposite to what we are looking for. This is basically used to calculate the payback. Like if, let's say, if your initial investment is $100,000 and your annual cash flows are, let's say, $20,000, that means the project pays itself back in 5 years. That's the way we calculate the payback period. So this is not what we were looking for. Then multiply the net profit margin by the assets turnover. What it is? Net profit percentage with the assets turnover. This is the formula we call the return on assets. And that's what we're not looking for. B is the right answer. When estimating cash flow for use in capital budgeting, depreciation is included as a cash or other cost? No, it is excluded. Excluded for all purposes in the computation, not excluded for all, because there is a term we discussed in our overview, depreciation tax shield, right? Depreciation tax shield is included. This is wrong. It is not excluded for all purposes. C, utilized to estimate the salvage value of an investment. This is wrong. Depreciation is not a component of salvage value. Then it has to be D. Utilized in determining the tax cost of or the benefit. Exactly. It is considered in the capital investment decision, the depreciation tax shield. We consider the tax impact of depreciation deduction, and this is a very important concept, remember, called depreciation tax shield. That's the right option. D is the right answer. The method that recognizes the time value of money by discounting the after-tax cash flows over the life of the project using the company's minimum desired rate of return is called what? Accounting rate of return, wrong, because accrual accounting is used in calculating the ARR. This is not ARR, that is the average or annual rate of return. We are talking about discounting. That is net present value. NPV is equal to the present value of inflows minus present value of outflows or your initial investment. Internal rate of return, wrong, because IRR does not assume a desired rate of return. It calculates the rate at which the NPV is 0. Incorrect. Payback period, wrong. Payback period does not recognize the time value of money. So our right option is option B. Net present value is the method that considers time value of money, that discounts the future cash flows. The discount rate is determined in advance for which of the following capital budgeting techniques? Payback, no. Payback basically is the time that you require to recover your initial investment. So it does not require any discount rate, wrong. Accounting rate of return, no, because accounting rate of return, it will calculate a percentage return based upon the annual income calculated under the US GAAP. So it does not require any discount rate. Net present value, yes. Net present value does require a rate for discounting purposes, and hence this is our right answer. Why not internal rate of return? Remember, internal rate of return itself is a rate that if you've used this rate and calculate the present value of future inflows, those inflows will be equal to the initial investments. Hence, this is not what we need. So we got our answer. C is the right answer. Which of the following statements that relate to capital budgeting is true? The impact of taxes on capital budgeting will not make a difference in the decision to purchase an equipment. Wrong. Taxes, they do affect. This is wrong. Taxes will make a difference. B. Accelerated depreciation of a method of depreciation provides tax shields that are advantageous from a present value point of view. This is true. Because accelerated depreciation means you will charge more depreciation in the early periods, hence it will attract more depreciation tax shield, hence your NPV will be positively impacted, your NPV will go up. This is a correct option. This is an absolutely correct option. Why not C? The depreciation method used for financial accounting purposes and not the depreciation method used for tax purposes should be used in the capital budgeting decision. That is totally opposite. Tax rules everything. There are two absolutes in the world, taxes and death. So that means if there are two rates given, we should use the rates given in the tax laws, not what we select under the US GAAP. That is incorrect. Okay, if the depreciable life of the project is shorter than the expected useful life of the project, then the anticipated after-tax cash flows would be evaluated over the depreciable base. Okay, now whether the depreciable life is shorter or more, the expected useful life is what we use. Expected useful life is the basis. Expected useful life of the project is the one that we need to take for our capital budgeting computation. So this is incorrect. A disadvantage of the net present value method of capital expenditure evaluation is that it is calculated using sensitivity analysis. What is sensitivity analysis? It's a what if technique. What if the discount rate is changed? How would it affect NPV? What if the operating cash flows change? What if the terminal cash flows change? So this is not what we're looking for. Does not provide the true rate of return on investment. That's true. The disadvantage of the NPV method is that it does not give us the true rate of return. The true rate of return is what you call the IRR. That's the correct option. It says is difficult to apply because it uses a trial and error approach. Again, this is incorrect because NPV calculation, they do not use trial and error. Is difficult to adapt for risk. Wrong. We can adapt, we can modify our project by just incorporating the risk into the discount factor. If the risk is higher, increase your desired rate of return. If the risk is less, then use a lower hurdle rate or lower risk of return or rate of return for discounting. In evaluating a capital budget project, the use of net present value model is generally not affected by let's move in the reverse order, Amount of the project's associated depreciation tax allowance, depreciation tax shield directly affects. It does get affected. Incorrect. We need to look for the one that is not affected by. Amount of added working capital needed for operations during the term of the project. It does affect the evaluation of your capital budgeting projects. Initial cost of capital, it does greatly affect the NPV computation. The method of funding the project, the method of funding, whether it's through loan or the share issue, it is not a relevant point to consider it, because our investment appraisal, investment valuation, it is independent of any funding, whether it's through bond issue or the share issue. This is the right method of funding, something that is unaffected by the capital budgeting process evaluation. The ABC company is trying to decide between keeping an existing machine and replacing it with a new machine. The old machine was purchased just 2 years ago at $50,000 sunk cost and had an expected life of 10 years. It now costs $1,000 a month for the maintenance and repairs due to a mechanical problem. A new machine is being considered to replace it at a cost of $60,000. If you buy, that's what you pay. That's relevant. The new machine is more efficient and it will only cost $200 a month for maintenance and repairs. The new machine has an expected life of 10 years. In deciding to replace the old machine, which of the following factors should not be considered, or ABC should not consider? Any estimate salvage value on the old equipment? Yes, the old equipment will bring some cash, so it should be considered. It's an expected cash inflow. The estimated useful life of the new machine? Yes, it should be considered. This is what we will use for calculation of depreciation, and hence the depreciation tax shield. The lower maintenance cost compared this versus this is a point to consider. Your operating cost would be lowered. The original cost of the machine, the cost you've already paid, is sunk cost. It is irrelevant. This is what we shouldn't consider. Hence, B is the right option. All of the following are the rates used in the net present value analysis, except we use cost of capital, yes. We use hurdle rate, yes. We use discount rate, but we don't use the accounting rate of return, because the accounting rate of return is a capital budgeting technique. It's not a rate, and it is also not included in your syllabus. Accounting rate of return is not in the CPA blueprint, nor is it in their CMA section E, CMA part 2. A company has unlimited capital funds to invest. The decision rule for the company to follow in order to maximize shareholders' wealth is to invest in all projects having, remember, if you have unlimited funds, we discussed in our overview lecture, all the projects that have positive NPV, all the projects with NPV greater than 0, you should invest in all these projects. Present value greater than 0, not present value greater than 0, the net present value greater than 0. That means the positive NPV. This is incorrect. Internal rate return greater than 0, no. IRR should be greater than the discount rate. For all those projects where we have this situation, invest in those projects. And lastly, the accounting rate of return greater than the hurdle rate used in the capital budgeting process. This is incorrect as well, because considering only the accounting rate of return being greater than hurdle rate ignores the time value of money, and we need to incorporate the time value of money, and hence we got the right answer. B is correct option. Which of the following limitation is common to the calculation of payback period, discounted cash flow, internal rate of return, and net present value? Limitation. They do not consider the time value of money. Wrong. All do. NPV method does. IRR does. Discounted cash flow does. They all do. Except the payback period. Payback period doesn't consider the time value of money. B. They require multiple trial and error calculation. No. Only IRR requires. They require knowledge of the company's cost of capital. Well, it may be needed for NPV or IRR or DCF, but payback method doesn't require any cost of capital information. Wrong. Now D. They rely on the forecasting of future data. Absolutely. All of these given here, payback, discounted cash flows, IRR, net present value, all these require the forecast of future cash flows. That's the foundation of using these tools for investment evaluation. Which of the following statements is correct regarding the financial decision making? First, opportunity cost is recorded as a normal business expense. No, there is no cash outflow. Opportunity cost is a relevant cost to consider in decision making, but it doesn't result in any outflow. It's not a normal business expense. It's an incorrect statement. The accounting rate of return considers the time value of money. It doesn't. It simply considers the gap-based income and divided with the average investment. Wrong. And it is not in your syllabus, remember. A strength of payback method is that it is based on profitability. Wrong. Payback method just measures risk, how quickly we can get our investment back. So this is not right, because payback method doesn't consider cash flow after the payback period or after the payback time. It does not calculate profitability. That's the major weakness of payback method. It does not calculate profitability. It doesn't consider the profitability of the project. Then it has to be D. Capital budgeting is based on the prediction of an uncertain future. That's true. When the risks of the individual components of the project cash flows are different, an acceptable procedure to evaluate these cash flows is to compute the NPV of each cash flow using firm's cost of capital. No, we should use different rates depending upon the different risk profiles. B. Compare the internal rate of return for each cash flow at risk. It's a very stupid approach. Utilize the accounting rate of return. Wrong, not applicable. Discount each cash flow using a discount rate that reflects the degree of risk for that particular period. Absolutely right option. In determining cash flows from a proposed investment, the amount of investment's depreciation tax savings, also called the depreciation tax shield, in any given year is equal to what? The depreciation itself? No. The depreciation expense times 1 minus tax rate? No. We don't need to take depreciation tax shield after tax. It's the depreciation expense times the tax rate. That is the correct option, and hence our right answer. And not D, the depreciation times 1 plus tax rate. Ridiculous. An advantage of the net present value method over the internal rate of return model is in discounting cash flow analysis, is that the net present value method computes a desired rate of return for capital projects. Wrong. Wrong. NPV simply calculates the present value of inflows less present value of outflows. It doesn't calculate the desired rate of return. In fact, that's what you use to calculate your NPV. That is what is established by the management. Wrong. Can be used when there is no constant rate of return required for each year of the project. Yes, when there is no constant rate of return for each project. You can use different hurdle rates for each of the years where there is some high risk or low risk. We discussed that idea. That's the correct option. C is the right option. B, sorry. C says, uses a discount rate that equates the discounted cash inflows with the outflows. That would be IRR, not the discount rate used in NPV computations. Wrong. Uses a discounted cash flows, whereas the internal rate of return model doesn't. Wrong. Both NPV and IRR, they use the discounted cash flow. Both are discounted cash flow methods. So that gives B to be the correct option. Capital budgeting decisions include all, but which of the following? Selecting among long-term investment alternatives. This is true statement. Financing short-term working capital needs. This is not right. Capital budgeting decisions, they do not include the financing of short-term working capital needs because they are more operational in nature. We are talking about the long term. Making investment that produce returns over a longer period of time. Yes, financing large expenditure is capital expenditure budget. So C and A and D are right. B is incorrect. The net present value method of capital budgeting assumes that cash flows are reinvested not at the risk-free rate, not at the cost of debt, not at the return required by the project. It is the discount rate used in the analysis. It is one of the assumptions of NPV model that the returns generated by the project, they are reinvested at the discount rate used in the calculation of net present value. That makes D to be your correct option. Net present value as used in investment decision making is stated in terms of which of the following options? It is not stated in terms of net income, wrong, because net income, it will distort financial results for capital budgeting decisions because it includes some non-cash items like depreciation, like disposal of long-lived asset at a loss, so on and so forth. Earning before interest, taxes and depreciation, wrong. Earnings, they focus on earning net income or earning before interest tax. We need cash flows. Earning before interest and taxes, same. What we need is cash flows. Cash flows. We need cash flows for the computation of net present value for our investment decision making process. A project's net present value, ignoring income tax consideration, is normally affected by which of the following? Amount of annual depreciation on fixed assets used directly on the project, not the depreciation itself, rather the depreciation tax shield. Amount of annual depreciation on the assets to be replaced. Carrying amount of the assets to be replaced, sunk cost, no. Proceeds from the sale of the asset to be replaced, that's the cash flow that is relevant to us. That's what we must consider, and hence this is our correct option. Which of the following methods should be used if the capital rationing needs to be considered when comparing capital projects? Look no further. Profitability index, that's the specific tool we have discussed earlier. D. If the net present value of a proposed investment is negative, that would mean your IRR is less than the discount rate used, or you may say that your present value of inflows is less than the present value of outflows or your initial investment, right? Then, what we can consume, therefore, the discount rate used must be greater than the project's internal rate of return. Look no further, look no further, look no further. That's your right option. Which of the following is a limitation of profitability index? It uses free cash flows. Wrong. Cash flows used for profitability index specifically relate to the project's cash flows, not free cash flow, equity or free cash flow to the firm. It ignores time value of money. It does not ignore time value of money. It does consider discounting. Wrong. It is inconsistent with the goal of shareholders' wealth maximization. Wrong. It is consistent, not inconsistent. It requires detailed long-term forecast of the project cash flow so that NPV or the present value of inflows could be calculated, which could be divided with the initial investment to assess its desirability. That would be D. D is the right option. Which of the following is most relevant to a manufacturing equipment replacement decision? Original cost of the old equipment, irrelevant, sunk cost, gain or loss on the disposal of the old equipment. This would affect accounting gain and loss. We would be interested in the tax impact of it. A lump sum write-off amount from the disposal of old equipment. Tax impact on gain and loss on disposal is relevant, but not this amount itself. Lump sum write-off, this is not anything it has to do with the cash flows. Yes, the disposal price of the old equipment, this is something that will directly affect your equipment replacement decisions. Hence, our right answer. When employing the MACRS modified accelerated cost recovery system method of depreciation in the capital budgeting decision, the use of MACRS as compared to straight line method of depreciation will result in equal depreciation for both methods. Whether you use MACRS or you use the straight line method, they will give the same total depreciation, because under MACRS there will be high depreciation charge in the early period and lower in the later periods, whereas straight line depreciation charge is the same, so the total depreciation is the same under both methods. This is true. This is correct. MACRS producing less total depreciation than the straight line. Wrong. We just agreed the total depreciation would be the same. Equal total tax payments after discounting for the time value of money. No. The timing of the depreciation is different, hence the tax shield will be different, hence the impact on discounting would be different. MACRS producing more total depreciation. No. Both methods give the same or result in the same equal total depreciation. Management at MDK Corporation is deciding whether to replace a delivery van. A new delivery van can cost $40,000. What exactly are we looking for? Ignoring income taxes, which of the following correctly states relevant cost when making the decision whether to replace the delivery van or not? So this new delivery van, this is clearly relevant outflow, R negative. Then it further says can be purchased to replace the existing delivery van which had or which cost the company $30,000 and had an accumulated depreciation 20. Both of these are irrelevant. IR means irrelevant. An employee of MDK has offered $12,000 for the old van. He is willing to purchase this. This is clearly relevant inflow. Ignore income taxes. Which of the following correctly states the relevant cost when making the decision whether to replace the delivery vehicle or not? Clearly, purchase price of the new van, this one, and the disposal value of the old van, this one. Just these two, and that makes C to be the correct option. In making capital budgeting decisions, management considers factors that are far broader than costs alone. Which of the following factor is least likely to be considered a non-financial or a qualitative factor? Least likely. Increase in manufacturing flexibility, it's a qualitative factor. Improve product delivery and service, it's a qualitative factor. Reduction in new product development time, this is a qualitative factor. But less scrap and rework, it could be monetized. It is something that can be brought into dollars. It is quantifiable. Hence, it could be included in our relevant cash flows. Wendy's sandwich shop purchased an asset of $100,000 that has no salvage value and a 10 years life. Wendy effective income tax rate is 40% and it uses the straight line depreciation method for income tax reporting purpose. Wendy's annual depreciation tax shield from the asset would be, for this we need to first calculate the depreciation. It's going to be the cost upon the estimated life, which is $10,000. This is the depreciation expense. Multiplying this with the tax rate will give you the depreciation tax shield. That's what we have already discussed. That gives you C to be the correct option. The use of an accelerated depreciation method or accelerated method instead of the straight line method of depreciation in computing the NPV value of a project has the effect of, let us discuss each option one by one. Raising the hurdle rate necessary to justify the project, wrong. Why? Because accelerated depreciation method will charge more depreciation in the early periods, which means there will be more tax benefits of depreciation shields in the early period. Hence, your NPV would go up. It is basically favorable. It does not require higher hurdle rate. Rather, even a lower hurdle rate would give you the positive NPV. Lowering the net present value of the project, no, NPV would increase, wrong. Increasing the present value of the depreciation tax shield, yes, since the depreciation tax shield is available in more dollar basis in the early period, hence the tax shield would be higher. The present value of tax shield would be higher, correct. Increasing the cash outflows at the initial point of the project, no. Cash outflow is unaffected whether we use the straight line method or the accelerated depreciation methods. Hence, we got our right answer, C is correct. Increasing the present value of depreciation tax shield. An individual received an inheritance from a grandparent's estate. The money can be invested and the individual can either A. receive 20,000 lump sum amount at the end of 10th year, or B. receive 1,400 at the end of each year for the next 10 years. The individual wants a rate of return of 12%. That's the desired rate of return. So what is the preferred investment option and what is the net present value? Now, first of all, we need to calculate the present value of inflows. Present value of inflows in option A, you're going to receive just a single amount at the end of year 10, and for that the present value or the discount factor is 0.322. Remember, this is the discount factor for the 10th year cash flow. If you multiply 20,000 with 0.322, you'll get 6440. In option B, the present value of inflow would be 1,400 annual cash flows, right? For the next 10 years, when the cash flows are regular, same amount we use the annuity factor, which is given, annuity factor for 10 years for 12%, which is given right here, multiplying 1400 with the 5.650 should return 7910. Clearly, we will go for option B because the present value of inflows is 7910. Salim Company is considering a project that yields annual net cash inflow for $20,000 for year 1 through year 5 and a net cash inflow of $100,000 in year 6. The project will require an initial investment of $1.8 million. Salim's cost of capital is 10%. The present value information is presented below. The present value factor for 10th year, the present value of 6 years 10%, 0.56, and the present value of an annuity for 5 years at 10% is 3.79. So what we need is the net present value of this project. For this, what you do, since there is no tax given, so there is going to be no depreciation tax shield. All you need is the present value of inflows minus the initial investment of 1.8 million. Now the point here to be noted is that we have two types of inflows. First, we have the regular cash inflows of $420,000 each year for the next 5 years. So when there is a regular cash flow every year, same amount, we use annuity factor. In this case, it's going to be the 10% annuity factor for 5 years. And then there is a single cash inflow of $100,000 at the end of year 6. So for this, since a single cash inflow, you're going to use the discount factor 10% for the 6th year and then just simply deduct the 1.8 million. We have been given these 3.79 to be used here and 0.56 to be used here. So a simplification would give you a negative number of 152,200, which perfectly matches with your option C. We can also use a financial calculator. This is your cash flow to year 0, 1.8 million. And then we have 425 cash flows, and then there is one cash flow at the end of year 6. The discount rate is 10%, and we can just use this arrangement. Look at the way how I'm going to do it. First, cash flow to year 0 is 1.8 million. It's negative, remember. Enter down arrow key. Now we have 420,000 and enter down arrow key. Since there are 5 such instances, 5, enter down arrow key, and then we have the next cash flow is $100,000 and it's a single cash flow at the end of year 6. Just enter down arrow key. Now, and down arrow key once again. Now we just need to press NPV, need to enter the discount rate, enter down arrow key and press compute. See, you got 151,422, which is negative, by the way, and this is close to this. This is much more accurate. This is much more accurate. So we got our answer. The Moore Corporation is considering the acquisition of a new machine. The machine can be purchased for $90,000. It will cost $6,000 to transport and $9,000 to install. It is estimated the machine will last 10 years. It is expected to have an estimated salvage value of $5,000. Over its 10-year life, the machine is expected to produce 2,000 units per year with selling price of $500 and combined material and labor cost of $450. Federal tax regulations permit machines of this type to be depreciated using the straight line method over 5 years with no consideration for salvage value. Moore has a marginal tax rate of 40%. What is the net cash outflow at the beginning of the first year that Moore Corporation should use in the capital budgeting analysis? 90, 6,000 and 9,000. These are the initial investments for initial recognition of the long-lived asset. 90 plus 6, 96 plus 9, 105. That is your initial outflow, and that makes D to be the correct option. Skytop Company, a non-profit entity, is considering acquiring a machine for $80,000 that will produce uniform cash inflows of $25,000 for 4 years. This is the initial investment. Skytop evaluates capital projects using discounted cash flow at a cost of 10% per year. That's the discount rate to be used. Based on the following table, what action should Skytop take regarding acquisition of the machine and why? Now, what we can do is we can calculate the net present value by simply discounting these yearly cash flows and multiplying it with the 4 years annuity factor at 10%, that is 3.170, and deducting your initial investment from it. Straight line, one-liner question. You can do it using your financial calculator. I'll show you how. 25,000 less times 3.17 less 80,000, that gives you 750 negative. So NPV is negative 750. That makes C to be the correct option. So your initial cash outflow is 80,000, and remember it is negative. Enter, down arrow key. Then we have annual cash flows of 25,000 each for the next 4 years. 25,000, enter, down arrow key. Since the frequency is 4, enter, down arrow key. Now press NPV. 10% rate is already there. Enter, down arrow key, and press CPT. That's 753 negative. Negative 753. That's almost the same, but this is more accurate. Yaro company is considering the purchase of a new machine that cost $450,000. The new machine will generate net cash flow of $150,000 per year and net income of $100,000 per year for the next 5 years. Yaro's desired rate of return is 6%. Present value factor for 5-year annuity of $1 discounted at 6% at 4.212. NPV of $1 at compound interest rate of 6% due in 5 years is 0.7473. What is the new machine's net present values? You can simply do it. NPV is equal to initial investment, the annual cash flow, sorry, 150,000 annual cash flow multiplied by the annuity factor so as to bring it in the present term. This will give you the present value of inflows minus initial investment. Khalas, simple. 150 times 4.212 less 450 gives you 181,800, and that's your option C. Alright, next. The factor of present value of an annuity for 5 years at 10% is 3.79. The factor for present value of $1 for 5 years, 10% is 0.62. This is the discount factor, this is the annuity factor. The factor for future value of $1 at 10% is 1.611. The factor for this all is given. Let's see what do we need. Given a 10% discount rate with a cash inflow of 3,000 at the end of each of the 5 years and an initial investment of 11,000, what is the NPV? It's a very, very straightforward question. NPV is equal to your annual cash flows multiplied by the annuity factor of 10% for the next 5 years, which is 3.791. And from this deduct your initial investment. Khalas. And you get 373, which is approximately B. B is the right answer. Okay, it says at the beginning of the year 1, $10,000 is invested at 8% interest compounded annually. What amount of interest is earned for year 2? Let us draw the timeline. This will greatly help you calculate. This is the initial investment you made, and it will grow at the rate of 1.08, and the final amount becomes 10,000. 10,000 multiplied 1.08, it becomes 10,800, right? Now this amount will grow further at 1.08 and becomes 11,664. What it says, what amount of interest earned in just year 2 alone is going to be 11,664 less 10,800. It is 864. If the question asks what is the total interest earned, it's going to be 11,664 less 10,000. That will be 1664. But we need to focus exactly what is required, so that gives you the right option. See. Freer company purchased a piece of machinery for $50,000. Freer will use the machinery in the production of its product line for 5 years, at which time the machinery will have a residual value of $5,000. Freer anticipates that it will produce 90,000 units for the first year with a total units of $450,000. 450,000 units. That's the total production possible, and that's going to be your production in the first year. Which of the following method will allow Freer to claim the greatest amount of depreciation in the first year? Remember, Whichever method gives you the highest depreciation will attract the highest depreciation tax shield. Let us do it. Let us compare it on percentage basis. Straight line method means this asset will be depreciated over the next 5 years, so that will be 20% every year, giving you a total of 100% depreciation in 5 years. Sum of year digits method. Remember this method. Let me write it here. Under the sum of year digits method, the first year depreciation is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? These are the years there. If you add all these, the sum of years is going to be 15. So the first year depreciation is going to be 5 by 15. Second year depreciation will be 4 by 15. So we are just interested in the first year's depreciation. 5 by 15 multiplied by 100 is going to be 33%. Double declining method is simply the doubling of the percentage under the straight line method. So 20% doubled would be 40%. That's called double declining balance method. Whatever rate you calculate using straight line method, you just double that, and that's called the double declining balance method. That's a purely accounting related domain. And units of production, how many units did we produce or we plan to produce in year 1? 90 out of 450. So this will give you a percentage of 20% again. So if you just look at this, the highest percentage is in the double declining method. Here you will have the highest depreciation expense, and since the depreciation expense is highest, the depreciation tax shield would be highest, or you can say the greatest amount of depreciation. We just needed the greatest depreciation amount. That's the right option. Look no further, C is the right option. Greatest depreciation expense or the greatest depreciation benefit mean the same. We got C. An investment in a new product will require an initial outlay of $20,000. The cash inflow from the project will be $4,000 a year for the next 6 years. Next 6 years, remember. The payment will be received at the end of each year. What is the net present value of the investment at 8% using the correct factor from the factors given below? What we know, if we have to calculate the NPV, it is going to be the present value of inflow 4,000 for the next 6 years. You need to discount them with the present value of an ordinary annuity for 6 periods. It's going to be 4.62288, right? This is the ordinary annuity when the first payment is at the end of the each period. But let's say if it is received now, the first payment is due now, right now, this is called annuity due. In that case, you will use this annuity factor. This is important. The difference between the annuity due and ordinary annuity is that in annuity due, the first payment occurs right now, and ordinary annuity, the first payment occurs at the end of the first period. So that's why we have taken this. And from this, deduct your initial outlay, initial investment 20. If you solve this, you should get 1508 upon 48. That's 0.48. Perfect match for option B. This is a pretty long question. Willis Incorporated has a cost of capital of 15% and is considering the acquisition of new machine which cost $400,000 and has a useful life of 5 years. Willis projects that earnings and cash flows will increase as follows. We are not interested in earnings because if you look at the requirement, we are required to calculate the NPV. So for NPV, earnings are irrelevant. We have also been given the present value factors, discount factors, as well as the annuity factors. So let us see, since all the cash flows are different, so we are going to use our discount factor. So we will use after tax cash flows. I'm going to write a column for discount factors. So first year discount factor will be 0.87 given there, 0.76, 0.66, 0.57 and 0.50. All these are given here. I'm just taking these from here. These are the ones. Don't forget there is an initial investment also of $400,000, which I will write it as negative $400,000, and for this we will use the discount factor 1.0. Here I will have the discounted cash flows. How do we get it? Multiplying your cash flows with the discount factor. This will give me $400,000 negative. Next will be positive 1,39200, 106,400. This is what is being done, multiplication. Next are pretty straightforward: 66,000, 57,000, and 50,000. If you add all these up, you get 18,600 positive. So NPV is positive 1800. 18,600. See. Okay, next we have a company is considering two projects which have been given below. The details are given: expected sales, operating cash expenses, depreciation, tax rates. What exactly are we required to do? Which project would provide the largest after-tax cash inflow? Pretty simple. First, calculate your after-tax, before-tax cash flows. That's 600 in this case, and it's going to be 800 in this case, right? These are the pre-tax cash flows. Multiply this with 1 minus 30%, or simply multiply this with 70%. This will give you 560, and this will give you 600 multiplied by 70% give you 420. These are the after-tax cash flows. Since there is depreciation involved and we have to add back the depreciation tax shield, how do we calculate depreciation tax shield? 250 multiplied by 30%. Remember, depreciation expense times tax rate is what you call the depreciation tax shield. That is 75. You need to add back this depreciation tax shield, gives you 635. Do the same for this 150 times 30%. I think that will be $45. 45 plus 420 gives you 465. Now, what we should do? The one with the highest cash flows, project B, because after-tax cash flows are 635. Right answer, C. A company makes an investment of $150,000 with the useful life of 10 years, no salvage value, and expects to use this investment to generate $300,000 in sales, $280,000 in incremental operating costs. If the company operates in an environment with 30% tax rate, what are the expected after-tax cash flows that the company will use to evaluate the capital investment decisions? Now, what you should do, what you have been doing always, take sales first, 300, and the operating expenses 280. What you get is $20,000. That is the cash profit. That's what you call the cash profit, right? Before tax cash profit. Charge tax on this at the rate of 30%. That's going to be 6,000. Deducting 6,000 from 20,000. What's 20? It's 300 less 280, just the difference between these two. Sales less costs. And since it's before tax, charge tax at the rate of 40%, 30%, 6,000. Now you get 14,000. This is called the after-tax cash flow. After-tax cash flows. I hope you remember, in this after-tax cash flow, we must add the depreciation tax shield. How do we do that? First, calculate the depreciation expense, 150 divided by 10. That's going to be $15,000. That is the depreciation expense. Multiply the depreciation expense with the tax rate. That gives you the depreciation tax shield, and that's what we add so as to give you a total of 18,500, and that would be D. Okay, next question. Preston Corporation is evaluating its potential investment in a $240,000 piece of equipment with a 3 years life and no salvage value. The company's hurdle rate is 10%, and it is anticipating that pre-tax cash flows in each year will be equal to 20%, 40%, and 60% respectively of your investment's face value. Tax rate is 30%. Discounted pre-tax cash flows are 4,299,553. That's great. We had been given the discounted cash flows. Undiscounted cash flows are 273,600. Discounted after-tax cash flows are 221. Now, this is interesting. We have been given three different numbers. Discounted pre-tax cash flows, undiscounted after-tax cash flows, and discounted after-tax cash flows. That's what we need. That's what we need. In order to calculate NPV, what is required? The present value of after-tax cash flows, which is 221,414, and from this we deduct the initial investment, which is 240, and that would give you the negative NPV of 18,586, hence D. Carter Company paid $1 million for land 3 years ago. Carter estimates it can sell the land for $1.2 million net of selling cost. If the land is not sold, Carter plans to develop the land at a cost of $1.5. Carter estimates that net cash flow from the development in the first year of operations would be 500. What is the Carter's opportunity cost of this development? Opportunity cost is what you give up, and what you are giving up in this situation is this 1.2 million that you can get by selling the land. That makes B to be the correct option. Straightforward question. Coulter Corporation is conducting an analysis of a potential capital investment. The project is expected to increase sales by $100,000, reduce cost by 50. Great. This is benefit as well. Do not net off these two. They are both in your benefit. It's going to be a total benefit, before tax benefit of $150,000, right? Now, depreciation expense is $30,000 per year. Coulter's marginal tax rate is 40%. What is the annual operating cash flow for the project? Now listen, this $150,000 is the before tax cash flow in the form of reduction in operating costs plus the revenue. We need to first bring it in on after tax basis. Tax at the rate of 40% means 40% 150 is going to be 60,000. So your after tax cash flow is 90. After tax cash flow. Now this would attract depreciation tax shield. How do we calculate this? Simply multiply the depreciation expense with tax rate, and that will give you straight away the depreciation tax shield. All you need to do is just add this up in the after tax cash flows and you get 102,000, and that makes D to be your correct option. Pole company is investing in a machine with 3 years life. The machine is expected to reduce annual cash operating cost by 30,000 in each of the first 2 years and 20 in the third year. Fine. Present values of the annuities are given and a 14% cost of capital. What is the present value of these future savings? Fairly straightforward. You're going to save 30,000 each year, 1 and 2, and it must be discounted with the annuity factor of 1.65. And then this one is the single inflow in the third year. So you must multiply this with the discount factor for the third year, which is not given. Discount factor for the third year at 14%. How can you calculate this? This is the annuity factor for 3 years period. This is annuity factor for 2. Just the difference between these two. 2.32 less 1.65 gives you 0.67. That is basically the discount factor you should use. 0.67. Now just solve this and you get 62,900. So this is going to be C. A company has a required rate of return of 15% for 5 potential projects, project 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The company has a maximum of $500,000 available for investments and cannot raise any capital, limited amount. Details about the 5 projects are given below. Initial outlay for each project, net present value for each project, and the internal rate of return. Now, it's clearly capital rationing question. The company should choose which of the following projects. Okay, now this is the table in initial investment needed and NPV of the combination of these projects. So if you go for project 1 only, it will require an initial investment of $500,000. Is it possible? Yes. Within the budget, what's the NPV? NPV is going to be 125. For project 2, 3 and 4, is it possible to take on these projects? Project 2 requires this much. Project 3, 150, 400 and 4. Yes, sum is 500. So that is your initial investment. And adding up their NPVs, 75, 25 and 50 is going to be 150. For project 2, 4 and 5. Project 2, 4 and 5. Is it possible? 250 plus 100, 350 plus 150, 500. Adding up their relevant NPVs, 175. Now we have the last one. Project 3, 4 and 5. Is it possible? 300 plus 400. Yes, within the budget. Sum of these NPVs is 125. See, now if you look at the given information, this is the best one. Within the budget constraint and the highest level of NPV, hence go for project 2, 4 and 5. C is the correct option. A corporation is considering purchasing a machine that costs $100,000 and has a 20,000 salvage value at the end of the life. The machine will provide net annual cash inflows of 25,000 per year and has a 6 years life. The corporation uses discount rate of 10%. The discount factor is given, annuity factor is given. We need to calculate NPV. We know what to do. We know exactly what we should do. First, we must convert your future cash flows into the present term. Annual cash flows 25,000 multiplied by the annuity factor for 6 years at 10%. Annuity factor for 6 years at 10% is 4.355 plus. Then we have this single cash flow 20,000 coming at the end of the 6th year. For this we will use a single discount factor. This is annuity factor for 6 years, and this is the discount factor for the 6th year, 0.564. This will give us the present value of inflows, annual cash flows plus disposal proceeds minus the initial investment, $100,000. There is no tax rate given, hence no tax shield. So if you solve this all of it, what you get is 20155. C. In order to increase production capacity, Gunning Industries is considering replacing an existing production machine with a new technologically improved machine effective January 1st, year 1. The following information is being considered by Gunning Industries. The new machine would be purchased for $160 in cash. Shipping, installation and testing would cost $30,000. The new machine is expected to increase annual sales by 20,000 units at a selling price of $40 each. Incremental operating costs are comprised of $30 per unit for material and labor, and a total fixed cost of $40,000 per year. The investment in new machine will require an immediate increase in working capital of $35,000. Gunning uses straight line depreciation for financial reporting and tax reporting purposes. The new machine has an estimated useful life of 5 years and zero salvage value. Gunning is subject to 40% corporation tax rate, and further Gunning uses the net present value method to analyze investments and will employ the following factors and rates. These are the factors and rates are given. Gunning Industries' net initial investment in the capital budgeting decision will be. Now if you just scroll up, you would see that this is the initial purchase price, shipping and installation. All these are the cash flows starting from the end of year 1. But this is the cash flow at the start, the working capital requirement. If you add just these three, 160 plus 30, 190 plus 35 gives you a total of 225. Hence, D is the right option. A new venture will require an initial investment in fixed assets of $20,000 and in working capital of $10,000. The fixed assets will have no salvage value at the end of the project's 4 years life, and the working capital will be completely recovered at the end of the project. The organization's cost of capital is 16%. At a time value of money of 16%, the present values are given for annuity and for discount factor. What is the annual net cash inflow required for the project to break even on a time adjusted basis? When you say break even, that would mean the present value of inflows to be equal to your present value of outflows. And this just a single, in fact, some of these is an outflow, 20,000 for the asset, 10,000 for working capital. That is your initial investment. Now, the question says, what should you generate every year, which if discounted to 14% for 4 years, it's a 4 years project. Together with the present value of this working capital when it will be recovered at the end of the 4th period. Remember what we have, this is the initial investment, 20 and 10. This 10 will be recovered at the end of the 4th year. So what we should do, we should take this cash, since it is being recovered at the end of the 4th year, we must multiply it with the end of the 4-year discount factor of 0.6. Now what you see on the left hand side of your screen is the present value of inflows, annual cash flows multiplied by the annuity factor for 4 years at 14%, and the disposal value or the recovery of the in fact working capital at the end of the 4th year is equal to initial investment. Okay, now we make perfect sense of this question. What you should do now, replace annuity factor for 14% 4 years with 2.8. So it's going to be 2.8 R plus 6,000 is equal to 30,000, which in other words means R is 2.8 R is equal to 24,000, and finally That implies R is equal to 24,000 divided by 2.8, and if you simplify, it's going to be 8571.428, which is the perfect match for your option B. A company purchased property that it expects to sell for 14,000 next year. The net present value of this investment is 1,000. The company is guaranteed an interest rate of 12% by the bank. What amount did the company pay for the property? We know the formula. NPV is equal to present value of inflows minus your initial investment, which is what we need to calculate, X. NPV is positive 1,000. The single cash flow will occur at the end of the first year, 14,000, to be discounted at 12% for the first year discount factor minus X. Just solve this, you get your answer. 1,000, 14,000 multiplied by the discount factor of 12. That is pretty straightforward. You can simply divide 1 with 1.12. This will give you the discount factor for the first year. Right? So let me do it for you. 1 divided by 1.12. It's 0.8928 minus X. Solve this for X. X is equal to 14,000 times 0.8928 less 1,000 should get your answer, times 14,000 less 1,000. So your investment is exact 11,500. Hence, A is the right answer. Core Industries is analyzing a capital investment proposal for new equipment to produce a product over the next 8 years. The analyst is attempting to determine the appropriate end-of-life cash flows for the analysis. At the end of 8 years, the equipment must be removed from the plant and will have net book value of 0, a tax base of 75, cost to remove of 40, and a scrap salvage value of 10. Amazing question. Last but not the least. Core's effective tax rate is 40%. What is the appropriate end-of-life cash flow related to this specific project? Okay, what we can do? First of all, take each cash flow one by one. Let's make a columnar approach. Each cash flow. First of all, we have a salvage value at the end of the life of this asset is 10,000. But the tax base is 75. Which means 10,000 is the salvage value, 75 is the tax base. So there is going to be a loss on disposal of $65,000. Right? There is clearly a loss. So this loss will attract tax benefit at the rate of 40%. So 65,000 multiplied by 40% gives you 26,000. This 26,000 is the benefit of tax benefit on the loss on disposal, right? Okay, further, we are receiving this $10,000 as well. Don't forget that this $10,000 is the salvage value. This 26,000 is the tax benefit on the loss on disposal, tax benefit on loss, right? It further says that you will have to spend 40,000 for removing this asset from the plant. So this clearly 40,000 is your outflow. And since it's a valid tax deductible expense, this 40 outflow would attract some tax benefit at the rate of 40%. So 40,000 multiplied by 40%, this tax benefit will be represented with a plus sign. If you add all these above, you should get your answer. 10, 26, less 40, 16. It's a total of 12. B, and that's all.